Welcome back, to the United Pubcast for a historic podcast, obviously celebrating Manchester United winning 2 trophies in one day, all with the first team being at home, rest of the whole first team. Obviously, United becoming the first English club to win the Eredivisie under Erik ten Hag and obviously winning the FA Youth Cup, so an historic day. Obviously got George with us. A lot of people in the live chat obviously be excited to see George replacing Larry today. And I think just first of all, George, I think congratulations is in store for everyone all round. Obviously, the FA Youth Cup champions under 18s, which we'll get into. Obviously, Erik ten Hag, congratulations to him to win in the Dutch League. And also to probably, I don't know how you describe it, probably the best footballer in Manchester, best player in the world, and the man who's probably single-handedly saving football, Kevin De Bruyne, single-handedly winning the title for Manchester City over Liverpool. Talk to me.
Yeah, it was nice to see a 4-goal scored for United this morning in a single game. Also, congratulations to Edwin van der Sar on winning another league as the director of football at Ajax. And nice words that he spoke in front of the Amsterdam Arena post-match to Ten Hag, saying that he's going to a club that has a soft spot in his heart. And you could tell that there was a nice, strong affiliation between Ajax and United. On the FA Youth Cup, great to see 70,000 fans at Old Trafford. I don't think down the road there was barely any as much at the Etihad for the Wolves City game. So that goes to show who the real big club in Manchester is.
Well, we'll talk about Manchester City, and look, I will throw banter at them when needed, and that is quite often. However, might as well be wearing a blue shirt. I was so happy that when Wolves pinged that goal back and got 1-1, I thought, oh my God, here we go. They're going to bottle it. But I was not celebrating Kevin De Bruyne's goals, but very pleased with his performance. But we'll get into towards that.
I've got my white shirt on to celebrate my 2 new teams, Tottenham and Real Madrid, for the rest of the season.
We had North London derby tomorrow, which is obviously just reminded me. I thought it was next week, but that has crept up on us. And that, unfortunately doesn't involve us in regards to the top 4 race. But look, at the end of the day, we are football fans, so it will be fascinating to see. And I think everyone in the live chat, obviously, is all aboard the Tottenham train. Obviously, it would be good to see Arsenal. Wouldn't you love it? Look, as much as we hate the Europa League, in regards to how the last 5 or 6 years have turned out in regards to the banter around the Europa League, wouldn't it just be fitting for Arsenal against Man United Europa League final?
Yeah, it almost happened last time out if they hadn't choked against Villarreal.
Yeah, and then we go out to Villarreal. But I will say good day to some guys in the chat. Always good to see you. Emad, as always, good to see you. And Justin, always as well, another member from the Man United Supporters Club. Emad, welcome back, George. Hope your international duties were a success, obviously, with the handball. But, I was thinking of international duties in regards to, Larry brought it up on the last podcast, in regards to before pre-season, will there be any international games? What was the latest on Argentina? Because I saw Garnacho, who we'll get into. He was obviously carrying around the Argentinian flag after the FA Youth Cup. Is that Argentina versus Brazil game still happening in Melbourne or wherever it is?
Yeah, it'll be happening here, June 15, I believe the date is.
Okay, yeah, no, I heard a rumour that
actually called up to the last senior Argentina squad. I don't think he was capped, but he was to think that he got a call up to the Argentina squad before a senior United squad. It's quite interesting.
It'll be interesting. Maybe he can sort of buy an apartment in Melbourne, because if he's going there the 15th of June, he'll have to be back there a month later, obviously for the pre-season tour, because I'm positive he'll be on the pre-season tour. But I'll just say good day to a few more as well before we crack on. George, always good to see you, mate. Obviously, the other George. Adam, I won't be able to get on social media for you. Liverpool win the quadruple. I think that is, look, I think everyone shares your thoughts there, Adam, but I think we are getting quite safe in regards to that. Obviously, hopefully Chelsea do the favour on Sunday or Sunday morning in the FA Cup, and obviously Manchester City now. They need 1 win. What have they got? 2 games left, 1 win. I think Manchester City have that hand on the title. Whatever happens in the Europe, hopefully Real Madrid win. But at the end of the day, Liverpool unfortunately ahead of us in European titles. And Borche here, we won the Youth Cup and Dutch League in one night, and our first team was sitting at home. Sadly, look funny, and I completely agree, which I mentioned at the start. But we'll take it. We'll definitely take it. But George, we'll start on, look, obviously on the thumbnail, you can obviously Frenkie De Jong, and that is huge news. Whatever way you look at it, that is sort of, I think that there's going to become a conclusion with that Frenkie De Jong news within a couple of days. I think it'll either happen in the next couple of days, or it'll fade away, and both sides will come out and say, no, this is definitely not happening. So I think that will come to an end quite soon, which will be exciting. But fingers crossed it does go the side of Manchester United. But I do want to start on the FA Youth Cup, because here we are. Obviously, we did start the season hoping for the Premier League title or a Champions League title or even the Senior FA Cup. But the last couple of weeks, our whole focus and attention has been this FA Youth Cup for a multitude of different reasons. And look, I don't know. I did a couple of years ago. I forget what the occasion was. Might have been a Youth Cup game or a European UEFA Youth League match. But not often you set the alarm for 4:30 on a Thursday morning to watch the under-18s play. But I think many fans around Australia were doing that. And I was up for 5 o'clock for work, so I watched the second half on the way to work. And we'll get into all things in regards to individual performances. Ultimately, they did win it for a record time. At the 11th time, Manchester United has won it. But just talk to me before we sort of break it down, just your general thoughts on regards to the performance, individuals, the result, etc., what it means for the club. Just talk me through the morning.
Yeah, it was nice to see the whole influx of youth players getting their chance at Old Trafford. I guess the last game that I can remember at a first team level where we saw that many youth players or squad players was that game against Astana in the Europa League a couple of years back under Ole. And it was nice to see which players you feel is that I'm sure we'll talk to this later. Put their hand up for a debut against Palace on the last day of the season. Obviously, you've talked about Alvaro Fernandez before, which, in my opinion, I think is the most likely to make his debut out of the ones that haven't done so already. More out of Tellez hasn't really grabbed his spot, and sure, I believe is still injured. So I do believe Fernandez deserves his chance. It'd be interesting to see whether you think Garnacho actually will start or not.
Well, we'll get into, obviously, it's a while before the Crystal Palace match, and I'm sure we'll have a big preview before that. First name on the team sheet for me, Garnacho, because I'll sort of go into individuals now and get your thoughts on some individuals. And it's one of those ones where, look, stats are stats and evidence is evidence. And at the end of the day, a lot of those players won't have careers at Manchester United. A lot of them probably might not even have careers at top-level football. That is how it happens. Now, ultimately, when you do win an FA Youth Cup, the evidence that we do have that one or two do go on to have a career in the game, whether that be at Manchester United or away. And let's hope all these players do. But ultimately, many don't. Many won't even feature for the first team. And rightly so. Not rightly so, but that is football at the highest level. But ultimately, when Alejandro Garnacho got the ball, whether you thought he had a good game or a bad game, there was just a difference. He looked different on the ball. Like when other players got the ball, that they looked good, but then you think, well, maybe lacking here or lacking there, or a decision-making there was a decision that was wrong. You thought, oh, not quite happening. Whenever the ball went, and even in sort of the area of the pitch that Garnacho was on, it just felt, okay, something can happen. If he gets the ball here, okay, Man United favourites to go and score. And I think that comes from, he's probably the only one, obviously a few have trained with the first team, but Nottingham Forest, I don't know how many of those Forest lads trained with their first team. And Garnacho is probably the only one who's been training consistently with our first team. And he just has that experience, that intensity of training with men and playing with men, that he just looked on a different level. Now, Nottingham Forest had some very good players, and we'll get into the United had some very good players. But Garnacho just looked on a different level, and that is why, for me, I always say his first name on the team sheet against Crystal Palace. Now, obviously, there are sort of other big professional players who play for Man United who will stake a claim to that. But for me, given the situation we're in, he needs to get a start now.
I definitely agree. Look, as much as we like to or don't like to see it, I think Rashford will be the first name on the team sheet, rightly or wrongly.
I don't think so for this one. I think what we've looked at Ralph Rangnick's honesty in recent weeks, and sort of now that there's this sort of clamour for Erik ten Hag coming in terms of what he's going to do. I think, and as much as I've criticised Ralph Rangnick for sort of constantly selecting Harry Maguire and Marcus Rashford, I think it's come to time that we will see a bit of a change now.
I hope so. In my opinion, I would have stopped starting Rashford 10 weeks ago, but evidence has showed that more often than not, Rashford or players like Rashford do play. Unfortunately, I think Maguire will probably play this game as well. But look, as I said earlier, I think if there is anyone getting their debut, it's Fernandez. I do think Garnacho will feature, and not that he played this morning, but Hannibal Majibri, I do think is a chance to start. Yeah.
Well, let us know in the live chat if there's anyone you do want us to discuss in regards to the under-18s who sort of played this morning. Obviously, Garnacho did steal the headlines, but one or two names I want to mention to you, George, in regards to, look, first of all, first goal scorer and the captain, Reece Bennett. I thought he had a good game, and I sort of want to get into one other thing in regards to I picked up at the 18s match. But Reece Bennett, I thought he sort of won his challenge as well. He was physical at the back. He was dominant, obviously got a goal. So fair play to him, and ultimately goes into the Manchester United history books of lifting the FA Youth Cup. So what a moment for him. I thought a player, and Scott Wooten mentioned him on the podcast the other day, but that Isaac Hansen, the Norwegian kid. Now, I think the game sort of passed him by a little bit. I don't think it was the game for him. He's obviously a very diminutive little player, very good on the ball, and the game was played at quite a sort of frantic pace. I think it sort of went past him a little bit, and he ultimately got subbed after about an hour. But the times he got on the ball, I thought, oh, he's got something about him. The ball was on a string. He did one of those elasticos down in front of the Stretford end, and I thought, okay, it wasn't a game for him, but I saw something there. Now, ultimately, here I am. I'd say, yep, throw him in against Crystal Palace, put him on the bench. Ultimately, that's probably not the right decision because not only these are under 18s, we have reserves above these under 18s players who they're sort of demanding a spot in the first team as well. So I wouldn't be throwing him off the bench against Crystal Palace off the back of this performance. But it's the first time I sort of sat down and properly watched him, and he looks a player.
Yeah, I definitely agree. We've spoken so much about how could we break down the low block. Inevitably, I do think that's how Palace are going to play against us. So if you're going to make a case for him to start, you could say, well, if you want to test how well our youth players can break down the low block, which is an area in the team that we're so desperately craving, especially with players like Mato leaving at the end of the year, potentially this might be the right game for him, if you want to put it that way.
It's interesting. Look, I think ultimately, and not to be fair, football's not fair, and Manchester United isn't fair, but I think you probably have to look for Hannibal over Isaac Hansen at the moment in regards to progression and development where they are at the stages. But it's definitely, after seeing that FA Youth Cup, I'll definitely be keeping my eye on him. I thought Mainu in the middle of the field had a good game. Gore in the middle of the field, I thought did quite well. And I just seen a comment here from Emad in regards to Garnacho. I've seen that chant going around in terms of the village people. I want to see Garnacho, and I don't know if that's going to be an absolute belter around Stretford End or an absolute nightmare, and people will be checking each other's hard drives after that. But I'm sure that will sort of have maybe a trial in Melbourne, that Garnacho chant. But one thing I want to bring up, and I had a discussion with Imad as well today. I'll get your thoughts, George, in regards to not a criticism, or nothing but praise for the under 18s. I loved what I saw today. However, Forest were good, and Forest probably deserved to win at the end of the day. Obviously, it wasn't a penalty. Now, he's probably got to score anyway, or if it's a free kick outside the box, he might get a red card and United go on to score. So ultimately, United got the job done, but Forest probably the better team on the day. Maybe not better team, but I think deserved to win. I think they played really well. And ultimately, I think why they were the better team is they outworked our team. Now, obviously, Warren Joyce, he's very famous for his teams being very hardworking. And ultimately, they put more in than our under 18s. Now, that is not our under 18s weren't putting the effort in. Ultimately, they were outworked. Now, I just want to get your opinion as a fan in regards to the hypocrisy of our fan base. If that was our first team who put the same amount of effort in as our under 18s did, but were ultimately outworked by the opposition, we would criticise our first team and say they're not putting enough effort in. Now, I'm not saying the under 18s didn't do that, but did I highlight in regards to if we got the result, if we didn't win today in the under 18s, I think it would have been, at least they still fought for the badge. And I don't think that is ever the case. Now, I'm very critical of our effort levels in sort of the senior level. But is there a little bit of hypocrisy? Because the way I see it is just the criticism is always over the top, and I think the praise is sometimes always over the top. Just your thoughts in regards to how the game panned out in regards to an effort level, which was the demand we did want to see as fans.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying in the sense that it's neither here nor there with regards to how we perceive a good result and a bad result with regards to effort. If we are ultimately outworked, what we do want to see is that maximum effort from the players, whatever that looks like. It's hard to tell when the opposition outworks you or outplays you. Like my prime example, like where we weren't really critical. I thought we were realistic. If you think back to the first leg against Barcelona where we lost 1-0, we were completely outclassed. Iniesta, Busquets, Messi, everyone else that was on the pitch that day. But you could never question our effort levels. You could question Ashley Young losing the ball 33 times in that game, but you couldn't question our effort levels, even though ultimately Barcelona did outwork us. So I don't think it's unrealistic to demand proper effort levels when it is evident to the eye that we can see it. But it's when we see stuff like, I don't want to call him out again, but Marcus Rashford and Luke Shaw down that left side walking back, then we are concerned.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I don't want that to come across as me sort of criticising the effort levels of the 18s. Far from it. And I think we're right to criticise what we've seen in the first team in regards to effort levels. But I just think it really highlighted to me in regards to if we did lose that game, I think the similarities, because at the end of the day, we probably, in my opinion, deserved to lose it. And not deserved to lose it, but I think Forest deserved more. And credit to Warren Joyce and Nottingham Forest and their fans as well, 6,000 travelling fans up to Nottingham Forest. Up from Nottingham Forest, sorry. Adam here saying if we lose to Palace by 2 goals, we'll finish the season with a negative goal difference. Plus, if we lose to them, we beat West Ham beat either City or Brighton in their remaining 2 games. We play, I assume that's the Conference League he means there. And look, there is still a chance of that. And I did see that goal difference stat in regards to United are on +1 and City are on 71 or 72, which is, I don't know what's more embarrassing. I think that's more embarrassing than the points difference. I don't know how many points we off City, 30, 40, I don't know. But I think the goal difference stat is worse.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, do you ever remember United finishing the season with a negative goal difference? Because I don't think I've been alive for it.
I don't know. I'm positive I haven't. I'm positive that would never have been the case. That surely could never have been the case in my lifetime. I'm positive.
Yeah, for sure. I think if we were to end this, we're already going to be the worst United teams in terms of points return in the Premier League era. To have and I think we will have the worst goal difference ever, regardless. But to finish on negative goal difference, that just it's the icing of the cake of what's been a more than underwhelming season.
God, I thought I could almost finish the season on a high now and just enjoy the FA Youth Cup. But now I'm nervous about the negative goal difference. I don't care about Europa League or Conference League, but having that
it's just written for Vieira to get a win against us as well. It's just written for that.
Yeah, at Palace away, I'm never confident. But Emad here saying, to find work though, George described a clear difference in quality. The old saying, work smarter, not harder, which Barcelona did in the first leg, which I discussed with Emad earlier as well. Ultimately, everything is masked by winning. If United win, we never question. These same players, we never question their work rate at Ellen Road. I assume we lost the week after Ellen Road, and we're all questioning their work rate. So winning solves everything on and off the pitch. So fingers crossed Ten Hag can get his message across to United, and we can get back to winning ways, and we can sort of criticise football, not running statistics. But we'll move on to someone Eric Ten Hag does know, George, in Frenkie De Jong. And this came out of the blue. I'll just bring this tweet up here in regards to Jared Romero, who was a Spanish journalist. I think he's Spanish, obviously works in Spain and is a Barcelona journalist. Brings up here, there's a 95% chance that Frenkie De Jong will join Man United for a fee around 70, 80 million euros. And this one blew up quick. Sometimes these rumours come out, but this one just went straight away, went viral. And none of the other journalists have really sort of picked up on it. Simon Stone sort of obviously comes from a very sort of, almost comes from the Man United sort of communications department, really. And he's come out and spoken about, well, a lot of teams are interested in Frenkie De Jong, not just United, so it's not quite close. But this guy has gone big on it and said he'll join United by the end of the month. He even said in a fellow tweet or in his sort of corresponding article. Just your thoughts on this one, because we're going to get into, is it realistic? Is it going to happen? What will De Jong bring? And I think that's the main discussion we want as fans. But when this news broke, first instinct, to believe it or don't believe it?
I do think there's something in it. I'm thinking if there's any player that I could take from Barcelona and stick in our midfield that is a realistic target, it would be Frenkie De Jong. And to take a look in Barcelona's backyard, they are still in financial trouble. They do need to sell players to get them off their wage books. And if you're looking who can afford the transfer fee they demand for Frenkie De Jong and match the inflated wages that Barcelona gave him, it's United. I'm not quite sure what other clubs are in for him. There might be Bayern Munich. There won't be any other Spanish clubs, and I don't see any other English clubs going for him. Maybe Chelsea, which I don't think so now. But I do think United is his most likely landing spot.
Well, there's another tweet. It was one of the tweets after this. Jared Romero put out that before the end of the league, like in saying when Frenkie De Jong will join. So he's saying it's going to happen quite soon. He's saying with a 95% probability, Frenkie De Jong will be transferred to Manchester United. It is a pure economic issue. Barca need to sell a player who has not been top at the club. I'm just thinking in regards to the footballer, great footballer, 100% bring that footballer in. He's good. He improves Manchester United's midfield. Of course, no-brainer. Everything we've heard, and obviously every player speaks about how much they love their current club and they want to sort of have a career at their current club, but he's spoken quite highly at Ajax. And is this because we do need to look past just the player. We do need to look at the whole package in regards to the mentality they bring. And if we're bringing someone in who is just coming because the club want to get rid of him, is his heart going to be set at being at Manchester United? Because we have to look at this, and Paul Pogba came to Manchester United when there was no Champions League football. And a stick we've always beaten Paul Pogba with is, he's only about the money, he's only about his contracts. Put yourself in Frenkie De Jong's shoes. Who should he be going to? Should he be going to Manchester City, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, or Conference League Manchester United? I'm just thinking we all want this footballer, but when he comes and it's not quite working in 6 weeks' time, I think we're all going to question Frenkie De Jong. And that's not me questioning him. I can see it going well, obviously, because he's a fantastic player, but my God, I can see this one ending bad.
Look, from Frenkie De Jong's perspective, I'm thinking I want to be playing in a team that is going to be seen and where I can start to push my case to be starting for the Netherlands at the World Cup. So if he did go to, not that I think City are in for him, but if he did go to City, that's a stacked midfield that he'd be working to get into, especially when he has no Premier League experience. You could say the same about Liverpool. So Bayern Munich, once again, their midfield's always stacked, and you're not really playing in. You are going to win the league, but you're not playing at a high level of competition every week that you would be in the Premier League. And that's for that reason. It's why I think United is his most likely landing spot, especially given his relationship with Ten Hag.
I mentioned an earlier tweet from Gerard Romero talking about Barcelona's finances, and that's the reason they're going to sell Frenkie De Jong, or they're looking to sell Frenkie De Jong. Adam here talks from a Man United side of things, and 70-80 million is going to be a huge amount of our budget. Your thoughts on that in regards to a few guys in a live chat, in the chat we had today, we're discussing in regards to if you're first signing it, and tell me if there's something in this or not, because I'm split on it. Your first signing being that big signing, because if we sign him for 80 million, we're not going to sign someone else for 100 million. I think that would be the marquee signing. That would be the most money we spend on a player. But if we go out and spend 80 million on Frenkie De Jong, if we want to go and get a defender from Spain, let's say a Pau Torres, he's not going for less than 80 million then. I think every other club will say, okay, well, they have money to spend. They're desperate. They're in the Europa League, so they want to get back to the Champions League. And I'm just thinking, does this send out, not the wrong message? Obviously, you do always have to go out and get the world's best players. That is part of sort of football at this level and what Manchester United should always be. But if we go out and splash that cash straight away, let's say in what Gerard Romero is saying before the end of May, before this season even finishes, I think that sort of shows a little bit of desperation, which ultimately can sort of prove a little bit worrying in a transfer market.
I guess that's true, but on the flip side, Man United are a publicly listed company, so everyone can see exactly what their profits and losses or whatever else may be on the stock market. So clubs will always know exactly what United's financial position is. So for that reason, I don't think spending all that money up front would have that much of an impact because we are a public company. Everyone can see it. If you look at how we signed Wan-Bissaka straight away for 50 million, yes, Leicester did bait us into paying 80 for Maguire, but I think that was always the case. Always would have been the case anyway, regardless of whether we'd spent 50 on Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, definitely. Rob, probably maybe not 5% for me, but Rob, yeah, I'm more leaning towards his side of things. Just feel that 5% has more of a chance than happening. I just think it from, okay, Barcelona want to sell. Let's say 70, 80 million. In the grand scheme of things, when you see players going for 100 million, Declan Rice for 100 million, grand scheme of things, a player of his quality, it's not cheap, but it's relatively cheap. Because you could see a situation where a club could go 150 million for De Jong in terms of if he was their main target, you could see a situation where he would cost that much. And that is where I just think, well, Manchester City, if they want him, if Liverpool want him, if Bayern Munich want him, if Barcelona, if this is a PR move and they want to sort of extend his contract, I just think there are far better footballing options in terms of success for Frenkie De Jong at the moment. And I'm just skeptical. I'd love to see him at Man United because I do think he's a good player. But just one more question from Matt I want to get into quickly, but my mum and dad are tuned in. Good to see them. Dad just said, imagine the goal difference if Ronaldo wasn't there. So I'll just throw a question to you, George, in regards to that goal difference discussion we're having. Who was more important in regards to keeping a positive goal difference this season, Ronaldo or De Gea?
Well, Ronaldo scored 18 goals in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? 18 goals in the league. So without those goals, our goal difference becomes negative 17. And think about all the crucial saves De Gea's made, and I think it's more than 18 of them.
Yeah, well, so I think De Gea's on about 1,800 saves. I'm scared to think what the goal difference would have been without De Gea. But ultimately, Ronaldo's goals obviously do prove crucial as well. But just a question in regards to football, Matt brings up here, is he physical enough for the EPL? And I think this is a question it's almost the first question we always throw out to any sort of foreign player coming in, and I think rightly so. But then I also look at it and think, well, the perfect example, which proved me absolutely wrong, is I had the same question, or not same fears. I hoped he failed, but the same concerns when Bernardo Silva came to England for Manchester City. I said, no, great player, not going to work. Not going to work. And he shows every bit of physicality. The physicality to his game is almost Bernardo Silva's strength. And it doesn't look like it, but it is. Like, he gets about the pitch, he's physical. And I just think Frenkie De Jong, how do you see him in regards to adapting to the Premier League? We saw maybe a lazy comparison. Let's compare him to Donny van der Beek. Obviously, Dutch, blonde hair, come from Ajax in the Netherlands system. Donny van der Beek hasn't sort of set the world on fire in England. Frenkie De Jong, different type of player, I know, but how do you see him potentially adapting to the Premier League?
I think he can, especially with Ten Hag coming in. I feel as though the way that Ajax play is how United aspire to be playing. And with regards to Van der Beek, I'm always of the opinion that if he was given more of a chance, I know Larry believes that he was, but I'm not convinced that Van der Beek was actually given a chance. Whether that was Ole's fault or not, who knows? That's up for interpretation. And look, I think that the precautionary tale that we could be saying is we were all in for Saul Niguez, and ultimately that didn't work out at Chelsea. So that's a precautionary tale, I guess.
Yeah, look, it's a hard way. You can never tell. Every individual reacts differently. You don't know how are they happy in the house they move into in Manchester? How do they deal with the English diet and the kids go to a good school? And there's so many variables that are just out of anyone's control. We cannot predict. But Borche here is saying it's better than blowing 100 million on Rice or Neves, and it's 70 million euros, could maybe get him for 55, 60 million. That is my fear at the moment. This Declan Rice, he's going to move. There was a rumor coming out that West Ham offered him an 8-year contract. I don't know. I don't understand why that story came out or how that story came out. But obviously, he's not going to stay at West Ham. He is going to move, and he's going to move for big money. I'm not saying I don't welcome the player. I mean, my first impression of Declan Rice, which I mentioned on here before, my first ever impression of him wasn't a good one. I saw him in midfield. I thought, nah, he's not the footballer I need at my club. Ultimately, he's improved a lot since then. That was a couple of years ago. And obviously, he's a very good player. I'd welcome him at Man United, but for the 100 million scares me. So that's where I agree with Borche. De Jong is a risk, but Declan Rice is a risk. You don't know how he's going to adapt to playing at a big club like Manchester United. So Frenkie De Jong has done it at Barcelona, but he's at Barcelona and doing well. And I think I watched the one Barcelona game I did watch this season was when the Aubameyang hat-trick where Frenkie De Jong played in the El Clasico against Real Madrid, and it was brilliant. So he can perform at this level. And ultimately, I'm saying all this, my hunch is he's not going to join Manchester United. I think he is at the level and the status within the game now where he's going to be playing Champions League football. And I think a lot of clubs will want a midfielder and a lot of clubs will be after De Jong. So it will be interesting to say. But before I get into one or two more comments to wrap up, George, just your hunch in regards to, is this happening or can you see it ending in tears for United?
I'm leaning towards yes. I think it does.
It's the one thing in terms of the way this story has come about. I think it'll happen quick. Whether United are going to announce him before the end of May, which Gerard Romero seems to believe is going to be the case, or I think it'll come out where
I don't think it'll be announced in May though. It won't be announced on the end of May.
Do you think there's also, now this has come from the Barcelona side of things in regards to this is a Barcelona journalist coming out, so it's not PR spin or United haven't, or it might be, who knows, but United haven't put this story out, but it almost feels like United have put it out, or in my opinion, do you think it's potentially a little bit of a, I don't know what the word is, retaliation in regards to Erling Haaland news? Because they've signed Erling Haaland. They've not obviously pending medical and all those, but they've announced Erling Haaland as a new signing. Do you think United have come out, geez, there was a bit of a backlash from United fans because Manchester City are getting their business done. Let's get something out now, and then throwing a De Jong story out. Or even just acting like we saw with Cristiano Ronaldo was almost going to sign for Manchester City. It almost proved why we signed Ronaldo. So can you see a little bit of that in regards to this De Jong news?
Not quite, really. I do think it was always up in the air with what's going on with De Jong's future, given Barcelona's financial situation. The question is, where is his destination? And I think United is the most likely option, and that ultimately is where the story came from. With regards to the timing, I guess, yes, it could be down to Haaland signing for City, but I think it's more Barcelona putting their player in the shop window.
Definitely the case of that. Rob's saying he passed his medical already. Thanks for that, Rob. Another kick in the teeth that Erling Haaland already pretty much confirmed for Manchester City. Just one or two more here before we do wrap up. Bingo here, good to see you, mate. What are your thoughts on Julian Timbers linked with Bayern Munich? To be honest, the one or two games of Ajax this season I have watched, I can't remember him playing, whether he did play or didn't play. I'm not quite sure. I have seen one or two YouTube compilations as well, and the Ajax links are interesting. Always going to be linked with Ajax players now with Erik ten Hag. Do you think, whether you know anything, George, about this Timbers defender, do you think there is anything in regards to, obviously you mentioned a relationship with Edwin van der Sar and Ajax and Manchester United. There's a rumour, and I don't think this is set in stone, but there's a rumour that's saying that United will be respectful of Ajax and not go in for their players in regards to, okay, we've taken the manager, that's going to be enough? Or could you see a situation where Ten Hag does bring someone with him?
I could see a situation where we do sign Ajax players, but I don't think it's going to be to the extent that when the rumours first came out under Van Gaal and the rumours that we were signing the whole Dutch national team in that 14-15 window. Do I see any players from Ajax coming in this window? If there is one, I think it's Anthony, but otherwise I don't see anyone else from Ajax coming in. The one player that hasn't been talked about that I think we may potentially be linked with later on is Aurelien Tchouameni from Monaco.
He looks like he's going somewhere. Definitely everyone's talking about him and big money moves, and that's where I look at almost in the De Jong category. All the top clubs, I'm not saying are we a top club or not a top club, whatever way you look at it, all the other top clubs at the moment are Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Barcelona. They're all looking at him. And I'm just thinking that's where I go to the De Jong category and think, well, yeah, we could do with him, would like him, but better football teams would like him. Better teams who are more suitable to win trophies, they want them as well. And ultimately, I think that will hurt us.
But then I come back to my point. If you want to be starting at a good team, regardless of what United are going through now, they are a good team. Do you want to be starting leading into a World Cup and leave an impression on your national team coach? That's
the World Cup in December. The World Cup in December throws I don't think it's mentioned enough. It throws a fascinating dynamic into this transfer market. It'll make sort of decision the deadline day in regards to loans, players panicking in regards to I need football, and they'll sort of seek loans in the last couple of days of the transfer window because of the World Cup coming around only a few months later. I think it throws a huge thing. I think it throws, in terms of players' pre-season travels, we've talked about Ronaldo coming to Melbourne, or is he not going to come to Melbourne? Or has he got to limit his travel before a World Cup year because it's not at the end of the year? I think it throws an unbelievable dynamic into the season.
Yeah, definitely. With regards to who's travelling on pre-season, not that's only going to amplify the rumours. But I do want to bring up a comment from Bingo Master Gaming. How would you feel about Rafinha coming, especially if Leeds go down and we could get him on the cheap? And I guess you could tie Calvin Phillips into this as well.
First of all, can everyone just sort of like the video for Leeds' situation? And Leeds are going down, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer sending Daniel James to Leeds to get sent off against Chelsea and setting them down. I'm very much enjoying Leeds' situation at the moment. We thought it was safe. About 6 weeks ago, it was okay, Leeds are going to stay up. But thank God they were on their way down, fingers crossed. But on that Rafinha one, look, good player, and maybe I'm old school, like one of the most frustrating players of my time. Tell me in the live chat if I'm wrong with this in regards to my comparison. Look, good player. I didn't hate this player for Man United, but my God, I was happy when he left. I was content when he left. Nani. Now, I don't know if they had sort of visibly similar sort of thing, but I just have a feeling that ability-wise, unreal. A fantastic ability. You can go past players, exciting, exactly what you want. But when things are tough, on the big stage, I don't know how he would cope. Now he might be coming, he might be brilliant, he might sort of have the tools to become a Manchester United legend. I just have my doubts over Rafinha at the moment. Ultimately, he's in a tricky situation with Leeds, but I think Leeds fans have questions over him and his mentality when things get tough. And I just think, well, if they have questions over him, I'm not sure he's suitable for Manchester United, but maybe he is. So do let us know in the live chat. But there are one or two more comments in regards to Tchouameni. Tchouameni linked to Liverpool at Madrid can't seem joining us because of how poor we've been. He grew up a United fan. Borja here, Tchouameni might go to Liverpool. I think a lot of people are mentioning Liverpool with him, which is obviously they're going to have to revamp their midfield at some stage as well. Obviously, Fabinho, Jordan Henderson, he's going to not move on, but at some stage they're going to have to sort of look towards a new midfielder. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Matt here saying love Nani. Well, it was a love-hate relationship with Nani. Like some of the things they did on the football pitch, just unreal. But yeah, frustrating. There was one game against Chelsea which threw me over the edge with Nani. I just couldn't deal with him anymore. There was one game away at Stamford Bridge. But anything else I've missed in regards to Man United news this week, George?
No, not really. I guess if we want an entertaining end to the Arsenal All or Nothing documentary that comes out, we're hoping for a Kane hat-trick tomorrow. But
fingers crossed. I haven't gone to the shop recently in terms of Arsenal's good form. I usually go down every couple of weeks to get a bag of popcorn for Arsenal Fan TV, but I've been sort of unable to do so. So it would be good to maybe have my weekend in Arsenal Fan TV binge, but that obviously depends on Harry Kane and Son turning up. But I think Adam or Matt here from Man Cave United, make sure you do go subscribe to Man Cave United. You can see them all on our social medias. There's a bit of a chat going on amongst a few of us in regards to Richarlison maybe being Man United's striking option. And he's one that definitely splits opinion. I'll say no, but a lot of people say, look, again, we're not Manchester City, we're not Liverpool, we're not fighting for Champions League titles. We're in 6th, 7th. and this is not me saying get Richarlison, but what are your thoughts on him? Because he is a name that will be popped up, especially if we don't go and get a Darwin Núñez early in the transfer window. The longer it drags out, Richarlison's name will be, unfortunately, in my opinion, be quite heavily linked, in my opinion.
Look, I put Richarlison and Rafinha in the same category. Great players, all the ability. Yes, their mentality does get questioned when shit hits the fan. But if you compare them to players that we already have, I would be starting both of them over Rashford in the sense that they've shown more ability on the ball. They've shown that they can beat a player in more ways than just their pace. And so long as they can show that they're willing to work defensively, I don't see why they can't fit in. The other thing that I like about them in terms of their mentality is that they have that South American style. They just don't give a shit. And that can work sometimes because when the pressure of the Old Trafford crowd comes on you, the external expectations, they do have that ability to let it go and just play.
Yep. Yeah, no, that is a very good point. Very good point. I'll just bring this, just the last one in regards to maybe something we can cover maybe on a Friday night pint or something. But where do you see Newcastle United next season as the performance got better and prevented relegation? My thing on Newcastle is obviously I was all aboard their train to get relegated sort of around that Christmas period when they're bottom of the table. I'm thinking, oh, this will be great. I'd love to see them go down with $1 billion in the bank, or more than $1 billion to be fair. But then obviously they got the new manager in. They were able to buy one or two players. And ultimately, okay, they did sort of creep up the table. But then when I looked at where they do the table from January 1st, they were second in the league for, maybe not now, maybe they lost a game or two, but for
still third in the league.
Still third in the league since January. Now, I know there's been an improvement. I didn't think there was that much of an improvement.
Well, look, it's one of those things that they've just played more games than everyone else. So because they kept getting all their games delayed.
Yeah, well, there might be a case of that, but what have you made of Newcastle? That Bruno player, now, Matt, I can see him typing away in regards to who's the real Bruno. But that Bruno guy for Newcastle, he's a player. Now, ultimately, I think he's going to sort of move on at some stage if he can do. Because I think the Newcastle project will take time, and I think maybe one of the big teams will jump in for him. But they have been good, Newcastle. Now, ultimately, I don't think that's going to sort of prove into title races next season or Champions League places. But what have you made of them?
Look, I think since Eddie Howe's come in, he's an underrated manager. He's got them defensively solid, which is something they were always struggling with under Steve Bruce. They are very direct on the counter now, which is something that they've lacked probably since Rafa Benitez. And with regards to how Eddie Howe's improved players, Joelinton looks a different player. I'd have him in before Eddie Howe came in. I'd have him in the worst 11 in the Premier League of players that are still there. And
well, he's changed positions now, isn't he? He's dropped into midfield. He was that sort of, would you say, target man. He played up front every time I saw him, and now he sort of plays in a midfield role from what I see.
Yeah, he's playing really well, and you know that they're willing to spend the cash if they're spending $25 million on Chris Wood, and he's scored 2 goals since then. He wasn't even playing that well before.
Well, I still think Newcastle have a huge role to play in regards to Manchester United's transfer market in regards to buying players. I think there are a few players, whether that be a Marcus Rashford or Jesse Lingard's out of contract. You know what I mean? Dean Henderson. I still think now with Newcastle happy with their keeper. I'm sure they are, but England's potential new number one keeper. I think that's something, one, from a football point of view, but also from a commercial side of things, that's something that would sort of benefit Newcastle off the pitch. So, I think Newcastle will be linked with us.
I think Kieran Trippier coming back from injury next year is a big in for them. That 6 games that he had before he got injured, he was revolutionary. He was fantastic.
Well, enough about Newcastle. Obviously, as I said at the start of the podcast, Manchester United did win 2 trophies today, and the first English side to win the Dutch league. So, congratulations to Eric Ten Hag.
To Dylan Levitt. I know Celtic won the league in Scotland this morning with a 1-1 draw against Dundee, but Dylan Levitt's goal for Dundee this morning, wow, great hit. Check it out if you haven't already.
Yeah, haven't seen it. I'll go straight on to YouTube. And that's one of the things we've spoken about, these under-18s, and get Isaac Hansen in the team, get Garnacho in the team, give Reece Bennett a debut for winning the FA Cup. There are reserves above the under-18s. There are players sort of more physically ready to make that step up to the first, and now a lot of them are on loan in regards to your Levitts, your Ethan Lairds, etc. Obviously James Garner at Nottingham Forest as well. But it will be interesting. That is the excitement of pre-season in a few weeks here in Melbourne. A lot of these young players will be making the trip.
Dylan Levitt? What do you think about Dylan Levitt? Like, we've seen him at the Euros already. He's made his debut in that Astana game, in which you did give him your 3 points for that game.
He's a very good. Now, ultimately, with these young players, it comes down to, which we've mentioned with all these under-18s, do they have the physicality? But then we see Bernardo Silva or players like that. Well, they show they do have the physicality. So it's always hard to judge. You don't know until they sort of get given that chance. with Dylan Levitt, now not physicality in regards to he gets into the tackle. He's a filthy player in the nicest way possible. He puts himself about. Just the physicality in regards to getting up and down the pitch. He's quite slight. So but he's obviously competing in Scotland, so fair play to him. And he is a player. Said this for probably too many players that we have coming through. I can see him playing at Ajax. I can see him in a Ten Hag style of game. So it will be. I think he'll get a chance. It'll be up to him if he takes that chance. I think Jimmy Garner is obviously ahead of him in regards to what he's doing at Forest. But you don't know how these things pan out and how players or how their relationship will turn out with the manager. So I have been doom and gloom and sort of a little bit hesitant in regards to sort of getting excited about this Erik Ten Hag era in regards to I still think there are huge issues at the club, and no matter what spin the club put out there, I still think there are huge issues that need to be addressed. And ultimately, I think nothing drastically will change. I think ultimately we will run into the same hurdles. But I do get excited when you do see an 18s team like that lift an FA Youth Cup, when you do see our young players performing on loan, when you see Erik Ten Hag coming in and you see the love the fans have for him, the players, the love they have for him, you can't help but get excited. I said this at the time. I'm not convinced that Erik Ten Hag will take us back to the sort of winning us, not a criticism of him, but I said when he was announced, I can't see him win us the Premier League title because of all the other issues. But now I see how much the Ajax fans love him, and one or two interviews he does say, yep, no, he's going to win us title 21. That is the life of a Manchester United fan. I am fickle like that, but has been a pleasure having you back on the podcast, George, in replacement of Larry. Hopefully Larry can maybe, I'll be out tomorrow night, but hopefully Larry can maybe muster up a Friday night pint for everyone to enjoy and discuss the latest news. It might be a Frenkie De Jong development. Who knows? But just one comment here by Rob. It's the question. Quick question, boys. If Garner gets promoted with Forest, does he? In regards to Jimmy Garner, if he stays with Forest, if they come up. So play hypothetical there, George. Nottingham Forest come up. Jimmy Garner stay or stay at Forest for the football, or come to United.
I think he comes back. He walks into our midfield, is the way we're going at the moment.
That's the thing. I think ultimately maybe the right decision would be stay at Forest. I think it's worth the risk, though. I think it's worth the risk for both the club and the player for him to have a chance at United. Now, that could prove fantastic and he might hit the ground running and it'll be perfect. Or it could be, he's not quite at it. He should have stayed at Forest. You don't know until that happens. But I think it would be worth the risk. I think the right decision would be Forest. Guarantee him a full season in the Premier League. But I would be bringing him back to Man United. No, I think he would want that. Adam here saying there, yeah, he'll come back, in my opinion. But thanks, everyone, in the live chat. There's been a lot of people, a lot of different opinions, which is always good, and obviously celebrating the enjoyment of watching the 18s today. Pleasure having George back. As I said, hopefully Larry's back for a Friday night pint tomorrow night. And a lot to discuss, obviously, the Arsenal-Tottenham situation. Hopefully Chelsea puts an end to any quadruple or treble talk, and hopefully we can all have a good weekend. So, George, pleasure.
Thanks for having me again, and congratulations to you guys on passing 900 subscribers. So very good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Always appreciate the kind words. And so next step is 1,000. I think 1,000 may be a bit of a stretch before we hit Melbourne, but who knows? If everyone shares this video with a mate or two, maybe you can help us get there. 1,000 subscribers before Melbourne. That would be great. And you're holding your phone now. Just takes 2 seconds. Click like. Actually, you like me wallpaper, George? The one matter going down the tunnel.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm sure that's going to be the thumbnail for when you do your Juan Matter tribute podcast.
Yeah, that is coming. Don't be alarmed. Make sure you are subscribed for the One Matter tribute.
Is Larry going to get a word in with that? Is Larry going to get any word in? Or
solo video, mate. Solo video for sure. But as I said, you're holding your phone now. Just click like. It takes less than 2 seconds. No skin off your back, and makes the world of difference to us. And if you aren't subscribed, please do. And we'll chat to you when we chat to you. Cheers.